What's up, y'all? My name is JR, and for those of you who don't already know, I'm a huge movie and TV nerd. If you're new here, I appreciate you taking the time to check out my channel. I hope you'll consider sticking around and joining the film community I'm trying to build here on YouTube. So in today's video, I'm going to be giving my reaction and review of Ridley Scott's historical epic action film, Gladiator 2. And just so you guys know, this video will contain spoilers, so if you haven't gotten around to seeing this movie yet, and you don't want to know anything that happens in it, you might want to exit this video now. And with that being said, no more wasting time. Let's get into it. Gladiator 2 is an epic historical action film directed and produced by Ridley Scott that serves as a sequel to Gladiator. Written by David Scarpa from a story he wrote with Peter Craig, the film was produced by Scott Free Productions and distributed by Paramount Pictures. It stars Paul Mescal, Pedro Pascal, Joseph Quinn, Fred Heisinger, Leora Raz, Derek Jacobi, Connie Nielsen, and Denzel Washington. Now, Jacobi and Nielsen reprised their roles from the original film, with Mescal replacing Spencer Treat Clark. Mescal portrays Lucius, whose home is invaded by the Roman army led by General Acacius. He seeks revenge against Acacius and fights as a gladiator for Macrinus, a former slave who plans to overthrow the emperors Geta and Caracalla. Now, a sequel to Gladiator was discussed as early as June of 2001, with David Franzoni and John Logan set to return as screenwriters. Over the next few years, Scott offered occasional updates, including the possible involvement of the original film's lead actor Russell Crowe, along with plot ideas about the Roman afterlife and different historical time periods. Development was then halted when DreamWorks sold the rights to the property to Paramount in 2006. The film was finally announced in 2018, with Mescal was cast in the lead role in January of 2023 with a script by Scarpa. The rest of the cast signed on over the next several months, and filming took place between June 2023 and January 2024, with a 5-month hiatus due to the 2023 Hollywood labor disputes. Now, Gladiator 2 had its world premiere in Sydney, Australia on October 30th of this year and was released in the United Kingdom on November 15th. And in the United States on November 22nd. Now, it has received generally positive reviews from critics and have grossed approximately $230 million to this point. And another sequel, Gladiator 3, is in early stages of development. Now, at the time of the making of this video, the movie has a 72% on Rotten Tomatoes based on 285 critic reviews, and the film's popcorn meter currently sits at 84% based on over 2,500 verified ratings. The film has a Metascore of 63 on Metacritic based on 60 critic reviews, with a user score of 5.3 based on 141 user ratings. And finally, it has a 7.0 out of 10 on IMDb with almost 60,000 ratings. So look, if I could make a list of iconic movies that absolutely did not need to be helped by a sequel, Gladiator would be near the top of that list. I personally feel like, in my mind, Gladiator is in a similar revered space in film as Braveheart is. So when I first heard that we were getting a second Gladiator film some 24 years after the first one, my immediate thought was, what the hell for? And my second thought was, well, how is Ridley Scott going to connect the two films with a 20-plus year gap in production? And, I'll admit, Ridley came up with the only answer that he could to that question here by making the film from the point of view of Lucius, son of Lucilla, who's now grown and who's apparently was sent away for his protection when he was a child and has been living in Numidia with his wife when Acacius and the Roman army showed up and essentially rang the doorbell, right? Now, he fights for Numidia, as does his wife, who is killed in the process, and he is taken as a slave in the aftermath of the battle and brought back to Rome to fight in the arena for the people's entertainment. Sound familiar? Now, I thought the film looked great. I thought the scale of the production was great and did a really good job of immersing you in the world of ancient Rome. Seriously, somebody's going to get an Oscar nom for production design this go around for this movie, and I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. That's just how good the production design really, really was. The film looked great. Now, and Ridley Scott usually does a good job with this, and given the movie's budget, I wasn't at all surprised that the movie had a nice shine to it. Now, I thought most of the action was pretty good, but again, this did not come as a surprise. I thought, Scott did a decent job at upping the ante, so to speak, making the fights in the arena much more of a spectacle than they had even been in the original film. Now, unfortunately, that's where the superlatives for this film end, in my opinion. Now, I thought most of the acting was serviceable, but I didn't quite understand Denzel's choice not to speak in an accent like everyone else was in the film. His character didn't have an accent, like I said, and it just stuck out like a sore thumb, especially as he interacted with the other characters in the film. And it was really noticeable throughout, and I think it took away from his performance. And believe me, it hurts me to say that because Denzel is basically one of my acting heroes. I'm one of those people that go, you can't say nothing bad about Denzel, right? Them fighting words. but again, I'm not saying that his acting performance sucked, but it was just a weird choice. And I do wonder if Denzel made that choice on his own, or if somebody was like, hey, don't talk in an accent for some reason. I'd be interested if somebody would have known the answer to that question. I'd be interested in somebody answering that in the comments if they heard anything, because that was just weird for me. Now, the writing here was not all that great. Or maybe it's better to say the writing was not unique to this particular film, especially where the film's outer beats were concerned. I thought the setup was a bit too reminiscent of the original film, as in it was essentially a copy, if you ask me. Lucius gets taken as a slave, just like Maximus did. His wife was dead, just like Maximus's wife was. He was made to fight in the arena, just like Maximus was. And wouldn't you believe it, Rome has the exact same problem it had in the first film, being ruled by tyrants, this time too, that need to be overthrown, just like, Maximus had to kill Commodus. And the one thing that you absolutely know is going to happen from the moment the setup is done is also ripped directly from the first film. Macrinus and Lucilla are bound to find out that Hanno is really Lucius, just like Commodus and Lucilla eventually found out that the Spaniard was actually Maximus in disguise. And after that happens, the actions of the characters from that point on make almost no common sense. And all that seems to have been done just so we could get a showdown between Lucius, son of Lucilla, a prince of Rome, and a gladiator in his prime, and Macrinus, a former slave and purveyor of gladiators twice his age, and basically a reincarnation of Proximo from the original film for control of Rome itself. So like I said, this film is nearly a beat sheet duplicate of the original film. And what I mean by that is there's a process to writing a film, for those of you who don't write them. And it usually starts with coming up with an idea that will evolve into a log line. Now, from there, you pick a starting point based on that log line and you map out your film beats. It starts with your opening image. And in the first few pages, you also want to establish your film's theme. Now, in this film, the theme would be man versus society, maybe among some others, but that would be the main one, in that Lucius is trying to restore the Republic of Rome. So it's him against a lot of people, who would not want that to be the case. Those he would have to overcome in order to achieve his goal. From there, you go through your setup. Who is your main character? What does he or she do at home, at work, at play? Lucius is a husband, a father, a farmer, and a warrior, right? Then you get to your catalyst, which is Acacius and the boys showing up in Numidia to conquer it in the name of Rome and the Caesars, right? Then you have the debate. What does Lucius do in response to the catalyst? In this case, he fights and almost dies in battle and is taken as a slave back to Rome to fight for his freedom in the arena, which is the break into two. Now, the B story and the fun and games section is Lucius fighting in the arena, which also includes Macrinus and then Lucilla finding out who he really is, which is the story's midpoint. From there, the bad guys close in. Macrinus uses him to kill Acacius, freeing the army of his general, and then he kills both Caesars, and finally Lucilla herself, just as she and her son are finding their way back to each other in the form of, bolstering their relationship, which is the all is lost section. And from there, you get the Dark Night of the Soul, which is Lucius, mourning the death of his mother and trying to figure out what needs to happen next. And the break into three is him deciding to fight for Rome. The finale then is everything that comes after, with the closing image being him back in the arena, mourning the loss of his mother and thinking of his father, who he found out is actually Maximus, right? And if you examine these beats carefully and you put them next to the very same beats from the original film, what you'll notice is that there are a ton of similarities there. I mean, sure, there are different characters, and even some of the beats lead to a different result. But if you found yourself wrestling with the feeling of deja vu while you were watching this movie, that's why. Now, overall, I give this film a 65%, or 6.5 if you're thinking IMDb score. Ridley Scott is in my top 10 of filmmakers, as he has made some of my absolute favorite films of all time. And I like him so much that I don't even defend some of his lesser stellar work if I was ever called upon to do so. But from a broad, scope, narratively speaking, this film was a bad idea. Now, I'm not saying it won't be a box office success. I'm not saying it won't catapult some of the actors into other films and stuff like that. So commercially, that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm a screenwriter. I'm talking about the writing. Narratively, this film was a bad idea. And apparently we're getting a third film. So, we'll have that to look forward to, which just continues Hollywood's bad habit of taking projects off the scrap heap, and kind of refurbishing them before presenting them to us as brand spanking new ideas that we should support, or else, we're racist or we're sexist or whatever. And, I just think that when all things considered, Gladiator 2, and by extension Gladiator 3, will do more to tarnish the legacy of the original film than they will do to enhance it. But what do you guys think? Have you seen Gladiator 2 yet? If you have, how do you think the sequel impacted the legacy of the original film? Let me know in the comments. And for those of you that might be new to the channel, be sure to like and share this video. If you really like the content, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you'll be notified whenever I drop a new video. You can also now support the channel by leaving a super thanks. If you should be so inclined, I greatly appreciate it. Also, be sure to go and check out themadScreenwriter.com for more television and film reviews and info on my upcoming film projects. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I got screenplays to write. And I'll catch y'all in the next video.